Okay, great. Well, I think we can go ahead and get started now, and we probably will have other folks joining us, and we'll say hello to them as they join us as well. But first of all, I want to introduce myself. I'm Julie Fridley, and I serve as the Assistant Director for Alumni Society Engagement. And I'm really excited to see and hear all of you and connect with you all. We are there is a few of our staff members on the call too, so I'll let them introduce themselves before we go any further. Nadine, do you want to go next?
Certainly. Hi, everyone. I know some of you, but I'm Nadine Holmes, and I also oversee a few of the societies. I have 6 of the special interest societies. I also oversee volunteer relations for the Alumni Association. So volunteer projects, month of service, that's me, and those big projects that we do for volunteering. So it's great to be on and good to see everyone this evening.
Thanks so much. Heidi, would you like to say hello?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Heidi Glansman, Program Assistant for Alumni Societies, and I work closely with Nadine, Craig, and Julie.
Does anyone see Dawn? Did we lose Dawn? Okay. Dawn is going to be joining us, Dawn Stenta. He was on the call, and it looks like potentially may have dropped, but I'm sure he'll be joining us again. Now, if you guys wouldn't mind, we can go around and let you all introduce yourselves and tell us which group you're with. Jeff, would you like to go first?
Sure thing, I can go first. Hi, everyone. My name is Jeff Rolland, and I'm the president of Scarlet and Gay.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. And
Thanks.
Dawn, would you like to introduce yourself? Sorry, we missed you just a moment ago.
Sorry, folks. Little technical problems here. Hi, everyone. Thank you for, first of all, for being on the call, and most especially for serving as a volunteer leader with the Alumni Association. You all know how important your work is, and we really couldn't do the work that we do without you. So thank you for being a part of a very important network of leaders within the Alumni Association. My name is Don Stenta, and I serve as the Assistant Vice President for Alumni Experiences. And so that essentially means that I work with the team that supports all of the outreach and engagement programming at the Alumni Association. So our wonderful staff who work with our clubs and societies that you know very well, and then also the team that works with our government advocacy program, our Alumni Career Management Office, our Alumni Tour Office, our lifelong learning team, and folks that are basically here to make sure that we're connecting and reaching out to our alumni.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. Do the Millers want to introduce yourselves and let us know what group you're with? Also, you are probably muted, so when it's your turn to talk, you may need to unmute, and I can try to help with that too.
I got it.
Sorry about that. So I'm Brian and this is Lauren Miller. We're both grads from Air Force ROTC in 1998. We're both board members for the Air Force ROTC Det 645 at Ohio State.
I just did the same thing. Thank you guys for joining us. Mark, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm also a member of the Air Force ROTC Alumni Association.
Great. And Zach, can you help me with your pronunciation? Is it Zachy or Zach?
Just Zach.
Zach. All right, you're up.
Yeah, Zach Naughton. Hi, everybody. 2014 grad. I'm president of the Tibbittl Alumni Club for the Marching Band.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And sorry about mispronouncing your name. I'm sure no one else has ever asked that question before. Okay, and I'm not sure. Can you, I think Shar or Cher 10, can you introduce yourself and let us know what group you're with?
Hi, good evening. Hi, Julie. I'm Karen Sharp, and I am the president of the Health Services Management and Policy Alumni Society, which is a part of the School of Public Health, and happy to be here tonight.
Thank you so much for joining us. Okay, Sam, would you like to introduce yourself and let us know what group you're with? Okay, and Dr. Reed, did you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure, this is Susan Reed, and I am the current president of the VetNet Alumni Society.
Awesome, thanks so much. Sam, I'm not sure if you were able to hear us. Did you want to say a quick little intro and what group you're with? All right, well, we can go ahead and say that on your behalf. I'm not sure if we're having trouble with your speaker or what, but Sam is the president of the Asian Pacific Islander Alumni Society, who Nadine works closely with. So thank you everyone for joining us. We really are excited to see you, and we miss seeing you and interacting with you as much as we were before. And so we're really grateful that we have this opportunity. We also just really want to take this opportunity to touch base with you and see how everyone's doing. We know that this is a really difficult time for everyone, and we just want you to know that we are all in this together and we're here, and we really want to just make sure that you're doing okay and know that we're here to support you. So we're
Sorry,
excited.
Julie. I had someone at my door.
Oh, didn't you tell them you had a call? Thank you so much. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We do have a lot to cover, and we want to make sure to be respectful of everyone's time. If you have the agenda that we sent out in the email prior to this meeting, that would be helpful if you'd like to follow along with that. And we will be sure to send the recording of this once it's posted, the link out to all of you as well. So first we're going to get started, and I just wanted to let you know, if you have questions as we go through this content, please feel free to type them in the chat feature, or if you're calling in and you're not able to do that, unmute yourself and let us know that you have questions. We will also have time at the end to answer questions that we received in advance, as well as any questions that come up as we go through our conversation. So feel free to drop those down, and we will make sure to address those at the end. So first, we're going to really just get into overall how to do a virtual event and how to do virtual engagement. And the first thing that we're going to share is the different tools that we have available through audio and video conferencing. So there's a free option for folks that's just for audio, and it's freeconferencecall.com. You can sign up for this free service, and it'll allow you to have a conference line with a conference code. And if you're the host, there'll be an additional code for you, but it's a free service, and you're able to host a call for up to 1,000 participants for free. So it is a great option for audio only if that's of interest to you all. The website is there, but it's www.freeconferencecall.com. So pretty simple for that. We do really recommend that you utilize video when possible. It's a much more engaging way to connect with your group, so we do recommend that, and we can talk a little bit later about your opportunities to be reimbursed for some of these video and audio conferencing tools. We're going to go over some other options that do include that video component. First is Carmen Zoom, which is the feature we're using to host this virtual meeting. The Carmen Zoom is the paid Zoom Pro version that OSU faculty, staff, and students have access to. We do have more information later about how to purchase Zoom if you don't have access to an OSU email account. So that is available to you as well. But what you can do with Zoom, which is really nice, is you can record your meeting and save it, and it provides a transcript already typed of everything that was said and who said it. So that's extremely helpful for board meetings, in specific for when you need to track in meeting minutes. You can host for up to 300 participants. The attendees do not need to be affiliated with Ohio State. They just need to get the link or the call-in number like you did tonight for this meeting. And we also have the opportunity for our Alumni House Events team to actually set up Carmen Zoom meetings for you. We'll talk a little bit more later about how to access that support, but for those of you who don't have an OSU email account to use Carmen Zoom, we can help you by setting that meeting up for you on your behalf. And then in addition, the regular Zoom is available to our groups as well. You don't need an OSU account, obviously, to access the basic free Zoom. It doesn't have as many capabilities as the paid version of Zoom, especially now with the increased demand for everyone using virtual ways to connect with people. So you can purchase a Zoom package, and that subscription would allow you to host your own meetings using the Zoom platform with all the same functionality that we use with the Carmen Zoom. The other option, which we'll talk a little bit more about, is that we can still, for our Scarlet and Gray groups, reimburse you the $50 per board meeting 10 times in the fiscal year. So if your group is incurring an expense to pay for your Zoom subscription, that can be reimbursed up to $50, 10 times per fiscal year. So you would just follow that same reimbursement process like you do for other board meeting reimbursements. The other nice thing about Zoom is we've done a lot of research, and there is a lot of information already available to you, especially tutorials and training. You saw in the email that we sent a guide for Zoom attendees, and that was attached to your email, but we also have tutorials for how to schedule a Zoom meeting and how to join a Zoom meeting. Another option is Google Hangout. That's also free, and it can be used for video calls, group chats. You can actually do a video call for up to 10 people. You do need a Google account in order to utilize this option. It is free. The other thing about this feature is that all of the users who are also using Google Hangouts also need to use a Google account. So if everyone isn't using a Google or Gmail account, that can be a little bit difficult, and the limitation of only 10 people, that may work well for some of our groups if they have a small meeting that needs to take place. So that is definitely an option. Other features would be to call any number in the world, which is free. So that is a great way for our international alumni to connect. And then you can also include group chats for up to 150 people. So it definitely has some great functionality if that's a good fit for your group. And the last one that we have to share for today would be Skype. That is also a free service, and you can use that for group calls, instant messages. You can even share files and share your screen. So that is kind of nice. There are a lot of nice features with that. You can do video or audio conference calls for up to 50 people with the Skype account. You can also do group chat. You can share your screen or a document, which can be really helpful if you're presenting something and you want everyone to be able to see that. Other, I think, nice thing about Skype is that it's friendly for mobile, tablets, computer, PC. It works well with lots of different equipment. So that can be a good option. And if you have more questions about these options, these are just the ones that we have researched and share with you tonight, but this is definitely not a comprehensive list. And if there are options that are already working well for you, we encourage you to continue that. But wanted to really share some of the great resources we have at Ohio State and at OSUAA for you and for virtual board meetings as well. For now, I'm going to turn it over to Nadine, and she is going to share more about some different events and engagement opportunities for your group.
Okay, thank you, Julie, for sharing with us about those various platforms. And you do have the notes, as Julie said, because there are a lot of hyperlinks in here, and so you can go directly to get more information about these. But we were really excited with the number of things that you can do virtually, and it seems like at this point we may be doing this for a little while. So we definitely want to stay connected, and I think Buckeyes want to be connected now too. So some of the programming that you can do, we're looking at things that would satisfy your Category 1 events. And this is not an exhaustive list, of course, but just some suggestions. So if you're looking for something for the visual and performing arts, Broadway plays and musicals that you could actually do from your own home sounds really great. And it would be a great way to bring your members together to watch a play and then maybe discuss it, or maybe discuss it first and then watch the play. Also, there are symphonies and operas that you can also do at home. And one that I think is really neat is online virtual tours. And there are several of them that are free. So you could go to the museum, again, from your own home. So those are ways that you could satisfy the performing arts category. And even though we didn't get to complete everything for the sesquicentennial, the information, which is really great, is still there. So we are still celebrating 150 years of The Ohio State University. So the website, you can still check it out. A lot of work went into this, and there's some great stuff on there. There's an online course if you'd like to learn more about Ohio State over the years and some of the things that have happened. So that's another way to engage your group. Maybe you'd like to do the course and then come together and talk about things that really stood out for you from the decades. And then also part of that is the Carmen collection. And I haven't done all of them, but I have looked at some of them, and they are really amazing. They're untold stories, things that you might not know a lot about that happened at Ohio State. And the stories are being told through the eyes of people who were involved or have studied them. So that's another great opportunity for you to share Ohio State with each other. And then there are also film opportunities, and you could satisfy with that your arts category, lifelong learning, also diversity, depending upon the film that you choose. And so you could have a Netflix party and everybody watch the same film, and then again, come back together for a discussion or discuss while it's actually happening. With Netflix, though, you want to remember that maybe everybody doesn't have it, so you'll want to take the opportunity for maybe somebody in the group to share their screen so that if someone doesn't have Netflix, they could still be able to be a part of the conversation. And then virtual wellness classes. I think all of us probably should be looking for some virtual wellness. I know I should be. It's great being at home, but one of the downfalls of being at home is you're really close to the kitchen. And for me, you just keep visiting. So the wellness is really great. And Julie was telling us yesterday that she's actually doing a virtual yoga class from home. So there are instructors, of course, who can't teach their in-person classes now, but are still offering their services. So that's another fun way to bring your group together. And of course, again, that would satisfy the wellness component. And then networking, the Buckeyes After Work is a really successful event in person, but it can also be done virtually as well. Again, bringing Buckeyes together and choosing maybe a topic that you'd like to cover. We gave some suggestions, maybe sharing just how you're coping, because this situation is a challenge for all of us. Uncharted territory, and just a lot of things go along with it. So maybe just even talking about that. And then working at home, Julie and I were sharing before everyone got on how we've adjusted this whole thing to working at home. So that might be a good topic to share with each other, you know, just how you're making this work for you, working at home. And then also just thinking about the fact that sometimes people just need to talk and they need to know there's somebody there. And we don't get to see each other in person, and a lot of families can't even see each other. So coming together for a happy hour just to talk about some of that could be something that's helpful. So as you can see, there are lots of ways that you can get involved, bring your group together virtually. And as I said, this is not exhaustive by any means, but do click on the links and check out some of those. And then we've given you kind of an overview of what a program could look like. You could watch the movie and first set your time for when you're going to do it and make sure that's convenient for everyone. And then just have a discussion following it or precede it with a discussion. And again, as I said, make sure that everybody actually has access to it.
So could we do like a social happy hour?
I'm sorry?
We do like a happy hour or social happy hour type thing?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. So there are some groups that have done some really good virtual programming already, and they are Julie's groups. So Julie's going to tell us a little bit about what some of those things were. And we'd love to hear if you've done any virtual programming too, what you did and what you thought of those ideas. So Julie, share with us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nadine. I can relate to all the things you were saying about the proximity to the kitchen. Definitely. For the Millers, yes, I love that idea for happy hour. And one of the things that one of our groups did that was super popular, and I think will hopefully come back by popular demand, was the Cheer and Brutus Alumni Society hosted a lifelong learning beer tasting virtually. So they worked with Platform Brewery, and that is a brewery that offers delivery to alumni in Columbus, Cleveland, and Cincinnati. So they worked with that brewery and had a delivery to 24 of their alumni. They got 6 different beers, and then the rep from the brewery got onto a Zoom call where they were able to taste all of those different beer and learn about all the different beers and how they're made. So that was a really neat opportunity for them to connect with alumni, not only in Central Ohio, but outside of Central Ohio. And they also provided a way for their society to kind of stimulate the business, the local business that was the Platform Brewery. So it was kind of a win-win for their group, for their alumni, and for the brewery local business. So that was a great idea that I thought was super creative. They promoted it on their social medias and said the first people to sign up are able to do it. And then they posted a picture of the beers stacked into a pyramid, and they called it a pyramid. And I was like, I love it. So I thought it was clever. It was really an engaging way, pretty simple, but I think a fun thing for them. Another group that I thought was had a great idea was the Dunn Sport and Wellness Scholars, and their society hosted what they called a happier hour. They encouraged they kind of went a different direction from Cheer and Brutus, where they went to a mocktail, where they encouraged their alumni to make a beverage that was not an alcoholic beverage. Of course, you can take that in any direction you wanted, but they then talked through all the different dimensions of wellness and how you can be taking care of yourself during this time. So I thought it was a really great idea for them to, number one, be checking in with their alumni and providing a way for them all to connect with each other, and also talking through the importance of wellness right now in this really troubling and difficult time for everyone. So those were just a couple of ideas that I thought were worth sharing and good ones. But I would love to hear from you all if there's something that you have in mind, or if there's something you have questions about, or any of that. So love to hear from you all if there's stuff you want to share. All right, cool. We can keep on going. We definitely have a lot more to share. And I know if Tina from the USG Alumni Society is able to join us later in the call, they hosted a kind of a workout Wednesday with an instructor. So I'd love to have her share about how that event went for them and how other groups might be able to do something similar later in the call. All right, so next we're going to talk about the resources and support that are available to you. These are things that are a little bit different now and how we're offering support, and wanting to make sure that you all know if you do want to try your hand at hosting a virtual event, the support is available to you. Or if you want to just keep the business of your society moving forward via virtual board meetings, that support is available as well. So first, I want to point out how you can request these support options for virtual board meetings or virtual events. We have new prompts on the Workfront website. So when you go into Workfront to request an email communication, a website update, a print piece, that is the same location where you would go in to request support for either a virtual board meeting or a virtual event. So the options are to select a board meeting. That will allow OSUAA staff to actually set up your meeting via the Carmen Zoom tool. So you don't need to purchase that Carmen Zoom package or the Zoom package. Our staff members can actually sign up, set up that meeting. Then they would share the link to you, and you can send that out to all of your board members. They'll actually start the call and serve as the host until you feel comfortable, and then they will depart and leave the leader of the board meeting to host the meeting from there on. So if that's of interest, just go ahead and check the box that says virtual board meetings, and then we will work with you to get that support set up. The other opportunity that you'll use Workfront to submit your request for is virtual engagement events. So we have an amazing team, the Advancement Events Office, who's dedicated to planning outstanding and excellent events for our advancement and for Ohio State in general. They are all right now not planning any in-person events at this point for this time of year, and so they are available to serve as a consult or consultant for you to kind of talk through how you might want to move an event that was planned to be in person to a virtual event, or what are some tips and tricks or other resources that they might have that they can share with you and your group. So if that's of interest to you, you'll select that option on the Workfront request. It will say, would you like assistance from the OSUAA events team? And you can check yes, and then they will reach out to you in order to get started with kind of a consultation on what your event could look like. Other support is that I mentioned this briefly earlier, but want to give you more information and details around how to utilize your board meeting reimbursements to pay for your subscriptions to a video conferencing tool. So you will be reimbursed if you're a Scarlet or Gray group. You're eligible now for $50 per board meeting 10 times during the fiscal year. So since many of you won't incur expenses to host a virtual board meeting, that $50 can be utilized to pay for your subscription for Zoom or for any other platform that you might want to use. So the eligibility is for up to $50 10 times per fiscal year. So July 1st, that fiscal year will start anew. And then you will use that post-event reimbursement form, just like you would for any other reimbursement, to submit that for reimbursement after your board meeting. You'll attach the same things you would have in the past, where you would need a list of attendees and then the agenda or minutes from the meeting, same as before, but that is an option for you as well. And then last is that we have staff members available to actually provide trainings for you on how to use Carmen Zoom or Skype. So if that's of interest to you, our staff members are doing really comprehensive training sessions for you. Just let us know if that's of interest. Talk to Nadine or myself, or Craig if that's your liaison that you typically work with. And we are happy to get you connected with them. It's actually our Alumni House event staff who you probably have worked with in the past. Melanie is the person who many of you may work with to schedule your meetings. She is one of our team members who can help. Melinda, Jackie, but their team is really great. And some of our team members have actually gone through that training. Nadine, did you want to speak to how that training went for you? I think you might have gone through it. Is that right?
No, I didn't do it. Leslie did. I am scheduled to do it though.
Okay. So we'll let you guys know, but we've heard really good things about the training that they're offering, and it's helpful because this is new to all of us. Some of us are really pros at this already, and others have room to grow. So it's really helpful that those resources are available. Just let us know, and we're happy to get you connected to those.
Okay. So now just a few tips about hosting your board meetings, because you probably will at least do a virtual board meeting so that you can, continue to plan and move forward with your agenda. So in planning your agenda, you want to keep in mind time zones, because some of you do have people who are not here. And that's one of the great things about virtual meetings, because there are people who can't come to your meeting, but now that it's virtual, they can really join you from anywhere. So you want to think about, what time zone it is when you're scheduling that meeting. Somebody from California might want to be involved in it. And then start your meeting with brief instructions, of course, to ensure that everybody understands the technology. As Julie said, some people are really pros at this. They do it all the time. But then there are other people like me that this is a challenge for, but I'm learning an awful lot in a short time. So just make sure that everybody feels comfortable. They know how to chat and raise their hand and, that kind of thing in the platform that you're using. And then also think about sending out your materials before the meeting. I hope you found that helpful today in actually having that in front of you and being able to see it. And it is always helpful, especially if you have a lot of detail that you need to give to people, to send that out to them early. Of course, asking people to silence their cell phones is important, and to mute themselves on whatever the platform is that you're using so that you can hear. But many of these platforms, the host can actually mute everyone. So that's another piece of learning how to use it. But that it does help when there are fewer distractions. And it's probably good if there aren't a lot of distractions behind you at home, because people focus on that. We've had babies in our meetings. We actually had a rooster in one of our meetings, a live rooster. So those things, of course, get your mind off of what you're doing, but they are fun. So, so think about the distractions that might be there. Also, as was pointed out earlier, you might want to think about password protecting your meeting, because that is another way to maintain a level of security. And then in the beginning of the meeting, because in our in-person meetings, we get there and we get to talk to everybody and, you know, greet and that kind of thing. So when you're building the time for your meeting, make sure you leave some time so that people can just kind of greet and talk to each other before you actually have to move into the meeting. We still need to have the list of attendees for your meeting when you turn in your DocuSign information. So you want to be sure that you get a list of everyone that's in the meeting. With a Zoom meeting, it's kind of easy sometimes for everybody who comes in through Zoom, because you can see them and kind of make the list that way. But if you do have people calling in and you want to make sure you have that option, because sometimes there are technical difficulties, people need to call in, but make sure that you get your list of who all is there. Also, we haven't done a lot of this, but you might want to think about, if your meeting is long, maybe have a break so that people can just kind of move away from the computer for a little bit. But most of our meetings haven't been too terribly long, but that's just something to keep in mind too. The other thing you might want to think about now that we can do these virtual meetings is maybe not having your meeting as long. Sometimes our meetings are an hour and a half to try to cover everything that we're trying to get done. And maybe using this platform or this way of doing the meeting, you might want to break it up. So you might want to have shorter meetings, but have them more often, and that whatever works for your group, but that's certainly an option for you. And if you're using Zoom, as Julie said to you earlier, you can always use that waiting room feature so that you know who's coming into your meeting. So if someone's in the waiting room, you have no idea who this person is, they're not related at all to what you're doing, you can just remove them and not allow them to come in. Again, another security piece. Another thing that Zoom has, a feature that Zoom has, is breakout rooms. So if you're doing a planning meeting and you have committees that are going to be working on specific things, you can actually use the breakout rooms and have committees meet together, start out everyone together, break out and have your committees meet, and then bring everyone back together again to give, you know, a final report or recap of what's done. So there really are a lot of options with using Zoom. Some of the other platforms may have that as well, but that's certainly a feature that you can think about. The other thing, I think Julie alluded to this, if you have a meeting and you have a lot of speakers and those speakers all have things that they want to show, it might be a good idea to have them send you those things ahead of time so that you can make sure that it runs seamlessly, because sometimes with technology, the best laid plans, it just does not work out right. So that might be something else that you want to think about. And then lastly, you want to think about having a co-host for your meeting, because you as the host of the meeting, you're looking to see who's here and looking for hands and all of that. But you need someone who can watch the chat feature, thank you, Heidi. She's doing that for us this evening. But somebody who can do that and make sure that those questions are being answered and considered. So, and then the co-host can kind of help you manage things too, because they can be looking around while you're presenting. They can see what else is going on. So think about maybe having a co-host for your meeting. There are probably a lot of other things to consider, but we tried to pick out maybe the most important ones for you to give us. So Julie's going to talk now because some people did give us questions ahead of time. So Julie's going to talk now and maybe try to answer some of those things. And then any questions you have, we're going to open it up for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nadine. All right, we did have some questions submitted to us in advance, and so we wanted to make sure that we saved time to address all of those questions. And then, of course, as we answer questions, any more questions that come up or anything that's maybe even not related to this, we're happy to answer those. And we have Don on the call, who I think is a really wonderful resource, so send him your questions too. So first, we had several questions around Scarlet and Gray tiers, the incentives, reopening, when that will be, and then also how are we able to really engage people while still maintaining safety and health. So since those are such important conversation items, we wanted to make sure to just start with that now. So we've sent out a couple of notifications, and hopefully all of you are aware. Any event that was canceled will still count for your group Scarlet status. And if you're a Scarlet group last year, we're honoring that again for next year. Many of our groups weren't able to complete programming for a large portion of the year, and we completely understand that was completely out of your hands. So no one will be penalized for any of that. And we do want you to know that your Scarlet incentive or Gray incentive funds will be sent to you just like they have in years past. Right now, everything will be reevaluated moving forward as far as programming, the amount for reimbursements, the incentives, all of that will be reevaluated as things move forward. And if things are going to change, we'll be sure to share that information with you as soon as we have any more information. Other than the Scarlet pieces, we also want to let you know that we are going to follow all the university guidelines. And right now, based on university guidance, all in-person events are canceled through July 6th. So that is the same stance we have here at the Alumni Association, and that includes the Longaberger Alumni House. That was one of our questions specifically about when will that reopen. We do have, like we've talked about, a lot of resources in place for you all to continue moving forward with your society business. However, hosting your events and meetings at the Alumni House isn't an option for now. Of course, we'll keep you posted as things evolve. And then we also just want you all to know that you're not expected to host any of these events. It's not a requirement for you. We know that there is a lot going on in your lives, and we don't want you to feel like this is something else to add to anyone's stress. However, it is great to stay connected with your group, and if that is something you're interested in, we're here to help you do it. We do think that a good idea would be to host at least a board meeting virtually or audio, so that you're able to still keep your society business moving forward, and even just make a plan for how you're going to continue business after this comes to an end, the restrictions that we're under. So that is all a lot. Does anyone have questions about anything that we just went over? Okay, I'm going to keep on going. We did get several questions, so we've got a lot more to share.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so a couple of questions. So on the 6th of July is when you're expected to reopen. Are they going to reevaluate that by a certain date to say, yes, that's still good or not?
Don, do you have more on that?
They're definitely going to reevaluate. We don't know what the date is. So right now, the university's doing like a week extension of state of emergency. We know that for the whole summer semester, they are going to virtual learning. The date of July 6th is relevant because that's the end of the first term of the summer session. And so I think that at some point in the future, my guess would be maybe the first week of May or so, we'll get through this school year through commencement. And then they'll evaluate where we stand. They'll probably keep an eye on what the governor of Ohio is planning to do in terms of reopening. I think Ohio will probably have more of a staged reopening compared to some other states that are right now saying everything's open, come back. My sense, just watching the governor and the state Department of Health director and other state leaders, even though they're getting a lot of pressure, they're taking more of a measured approach. So there'll probably be more of a phased in approach, and more guidance will come from the state, which will influence the university's decision. And those leaders will kind of talk through what makes the most sense and what is going to be best at the end of the day for the safety of our public and for our constituents. So we're following that guidance. And like we said all along, as soon as we know, we'll pass that along on to you folks.
Okay. And then my next question is, how much is it to have a meeting at the alumni house? Or the Limburger House, I should say.
You mean when you can?
To have a meeting for your society?
Yes.
Meetings are no charge. Yeah. Go ahead, Julie.
Sorry about that, Don. There's not a charge for our groups to utilize meeting spaces. If you wanted to host an event in a larger space like the Grand Lounge, there would be a discounted price for you. And of course, our groups are happy to, our staff who manages those events would be happy to go over that. The only cost that is incurred typically for our board meetings when they're hosted at the Alumni House is the food. So we have a few options that they suggest that are around $50. And so many of our groups that have not a huge board are able to feed folks a pretty modest dinner for around $50. It usually entails pizza, but that provides dinner for folks who are missing their dinner time to be attending a meeting. So what happens is if your cost for food is under $50, the Alumni Association just pays that invoice instead of you paying the Alumni House and then us reimbursing your society. So typically we try to work with our groups to work within that $50 if it works for your group. If not, you'll get $50 reimbursement per meeting.
Okay. And then can you send us the contact information if we want to have it in a larger setting, in the larger room?
Yes, absolutely. I will send you the information for Melanie, who is our event coordinator, and she has great information. As soon as we're able to plan in-person events, I'm sure they'll be wonderful to work with. Of course, we don't know when that will be, but it would be good, I think, to get that information so that you have it ready for, now's a really good time to plan ahead. So I like that you're thinking ahead.
Okay.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Not yet for me. No.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, I appreciate it. I'm glad you're having questions because that was really the point of this call, was not to just be like a one-way conversation where we vomit information at you. We want this to be a conversation where you're able to get something out of it as well, and not just what we think you want out of it, but also what you want out of it beyond what we think are good things to share. So it's really helpful for us to hear your questions and provide that feedback. Just going to get back to a couple of other questions that we received in advance, and of course, happy to answer anything else as it comes up. One person asked about how to record something online. It was specifically a wellness session. The Zoom subscription would allow you to do that, or Carmen Zoom, whichever option you're using. I think there are other platforms that potentially have that capability, but for sure I know that Zoom is very user-friendly when it comes to that. At the end of your meeting, while you're recording, it gives you options to save it to your computer or to the cloud, and then you're able to then convert that into a whatever type of format that you need. You can post it on YouTube. We can post it on your group's website if that's something you would want to do. But yes, that functionality is definitely available in Zoom. We've also had a lot of questions about football and what's happening with football season. That's a great question we all would love to know more about. And right now, we're also sort of waiting for more information. And I think there are a lot of groups with large scale in-person events that are right now sort of trying to find out more information about what that could look like and how safe that situation will be for our fans, our alums, our constituents, anyone who would be potentially engaging in that. So the information that we expect we'll hear more around May 1st. So we will provide an update to you as soon as we have more information about football. But yes, everyone wants to know about football, and so do we. Another question we received was, how do we do elections during quarantine? I actually just worked with the Army ROTC Alumni Society to set up an online voting through Google Forms, which is really like a survey tool that you can use in Google. It was very user-friendly. The president is 75 and he was able to master that and get it done. So anyone can do it. You don't have to be super tech savvy, but our liaisons are here to help you. We also can help you with Qualtrics, which is a survey software that Ohio State staff members have access to as well. So if that's your group and you want some assistance with that, reach out to Nadine, Craig, or myself, and we can get you set up with that. We also had folks asking about month of service. Since they weren't able to be done in April, can they do it later in the year? And absolutely. We encourage groups to host community service projects at any time. And so now we've had a couple of our groups talk about some ways to provide a community service to others. This is a time where if you can be really creative and think about how to do that in a virtual way, that would be completely encouraged. Or if it makes more sense for your group to wait until things resume in person, that's also an option. But we definitely encourage community service throughout the year. And then the last question that we received was, how are our groups able to congratulate students who are graduating or celebrating incoming Buckeyes? And we've had some great conversations with our other groups. A couple of them did some things that were really nice, like writing handwritten letters to their graduating, the students graduating that were part of their programs. Another one highlighted the graduating seniors on their social media accounts, so I think that's a great idea. I have another group who's sending a postcard acknowledging those graduating seniors to all their alums, saying congratulations, and they're including a save the date for something that they are planning for the fall and hoping will take place. But would love to hear if others have ideas for ways to support graduating students. One group I think said that they were sending a certificate to each student who is graduating, welcoming them to the Alumni Society and congratulating them. So I think that's a really nice personal touch. And we're kind of all thinking through how to make this special for them, even though many of the things that they would be looking forward to are happening in a different way this year. So those were all of the questions we received in advance. I would love to hear from you all if you have ideas, other questions, or anything else that you want to share or ask. And Heidi, did we get anything else in the chat? Oh, thank you so much. Heidi shared the contact information for Melanie, who is the events staff contact to Rent Space. Thank you so much, Heidi.
Sure, you're welcome.
I just wanted to jump in real quick and say that I used the free conference call before for our society, and the virtual meetings have been really, really successful. So for people that, you know, our meetings in person are typically, you know, an hour and a half or so, but over the phone, we really get them done in about 45 minutes, and people are really excited to be there and interact, you know, and at their own home and not have to come to the alumni house sometimes. So that helps us be more intentional on when we do reserve the space to kind of bring in other folks. So anyone that's interested in doing a remote board meeting, if you have any questions, obviously we have great leaders that can help you out. But if you want somebody who's done it, I've done it before, and the members love it. We get better attendance virtually than we do in person, which sounds kind of silly, but it actually is the truth. So just wanted to throw that out there. It's a really good tool to go ahead and use that.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Actually, that's one of the things that we were talking about earlier in our 12 o'clock call with the Men's Glee Club Alumni Society. They had a spring banquet for the Glee Club students that they did virtually, and they had 70 participants. So
right.
Some of the barriers to participating are no longer there, because you don't need to drive-in rush hour. You don't need a babysitter, maybe, probably not. But some of those barriers that might have made it not able for you to participate before, geographic separation, some of those things are eliminated now. So there are some silver linings to this, and we're just figuring out how to really maximize those right now. But that's a great idea, and thank you so much for the offer to help folks who are new to this.
Of course, thanks.
Does anyone else have any questions?
So I don't have any questions, but you mentioned you're asking what are we doing for our alumni. So for our graduates, we're sending out T-shirts. We're going to do a breakfast for them, and then we're paying for the breakfast, but obviously that's canceled. But we are still sending T-shirts out to all the graduates.
Good idea.
Awesome, that's great. Hi, Craig. Fantastic. Does anyone have any other questions? Dawn, did you have anything you wanted to share? We've got some time, a few minutes.
No, I just think that I noticed that one of our alums, who is the president of our Minnesota Alumni Club, Janelle Jordan, also serves on the board of directors for the Alumni Association. She participated in a webinar that the University of Minnesota Alumni Association conducted that took a look at the overlay of this pandemic with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So if you remember back to like intro psychology, Maslow's hierarchy is kind of like a pyramid, and you've got sort of physical needs and safety needs before you can kind of connect and get into higher order. And this over at what people are experiencing right now. And it was a good reminder for people who work in alumni relations that in the first few weeks of this, people were very concerned about their physical needs and the safety and security of their friends and family. The physical needs range from things like getting food and, of course, the panic about toilet paper and everything else that was going on. And so we're at a point right now in this pandemic for some people that there's a little bit more bandwidth in people's lives to get reconnected with things that are quote unquote normal, like engaging with their club or their society or seeing Ohio State having a presence in their lives. And so when you're having your board meetings, just think through the strategy behind what are people going to feel like doing and want to do, and how can we be helpful? And it's not same old, but we also shouldn't just say, well, the model's thrown out the window and now no one's going to come to anything, or this is too much work, or I don't understand how to facilitate engagement. We've got people on our team right now that are spending every day, this is what we do for a living. We wake up and our job is to serve alumni. And so we're thinking very carefully about the strategies around virtual engagement. And most of it is around currently, like right now, like what are the immediate things that are happening, but there's a lot of opportunity here to learn lessons about how to continue virtual engagement because obviously it gets a lot more people connected. And so some things may work, some things may not. Maybe the beer tasting virtually is the way to go forever. I doubt that all bars will shut down permanently for the rest of our lives. So I think that there's sort of a happy medium on something like a happy hour, but definitely as it relates to board meetings and as it relates to other activities to get people connected. I guess from the society perspective, since so many societies are based in Columbus, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to extend your reach to a broader audience in terms of people who can participate in your programming. So think about the special nugget that brings together your society, and how do you want to sort of extend that beyond the Central Ohio community. So there's a lot of opportunity here, I think. And as leaders, just push your board members and the folks who serve on committees to think about how they can support our alumni in new and different ways. And thank you again.
Great, thank you all so much. Thank you very much, Dawn, for attending our call and for your contributions, your remarks. We really appreciate it. And thank all of you alumni leaders who are able to take time out of your schedules and everything else that you have going on, working from home, figuring out what's going on, making sure that you are able to provide everything that you need for your loved ones as well. We appreciate you taking the time to keep the group moving forward. Oh, I see a question here.
I was going to say, Karen has a question.
I think it's 25. First
Yeah, I
grade.
wondered, it's a very minor question, but just
No,
thinking
great
about how
question.
you have that community view, I've wondered what's the maximum number of people you can see all at once on a Zoom screen? And
Great
if you have more
question.
than that, is it just like another screen and you can advance that
Yes.
screen? Is that how that works?
Just shift.
Yeah, there'll be an arrow on the side. I just pointed to my camera. There's an arrow on the side. You can bring more people on board. But we've had organizations at Ohio State lead a Zoom event with thousands of people. So you obviously don't have everybody in a thumbnail like the Brady Bunch, like where you have right now. But the key facilitators and the PowerPoint and those sorts of things are featured, and then everybody else just doesn't appear on the screen. But there are ways and platforms to have multiple, dozens and hundreds and thousands of people engaged in a program.
And then, but you think it's 25 that you could actually see all together at one time? That's the number.
That is correct.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Great question. Any other questions? All right, great. Well, thank you so much, everyone. We really appreciate you taking your time. It was good to see all of you. I've seen my son, who I love more than anything, and my husband exclusively for the last 6 weeks. So I'm really grateful to all of you for this time, and thank you for spending your evening with us. We will be sharing out the recording of this link, so thank you all for your engagement and your participation. If anyone has questions about anything that we covered today or as they come up, please don't hesitate to reach us. We're happy to answer all your questions and stay connected with you all. And without any further information from me or any other questions, I think we'll end our call with an OH. Ready? OH! Awesome. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Bye.
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 Thank
you.
Take care. Everybody
Be safe. Be well.
You too. Thank you.
All right.